Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good, beautiful, anything, everything. Wherever in the world you are, welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. It's marvelous, magical, mythical Monday with Morné and BRICE. How are you?
I'm good. Hopefully, I was saying before we started filming, hopefully today I won't just disappear because it seems my neighbors are really smart. And so it seems that they have filed complaints with the city. And so hopefully my internet will be stable for work. So fingers crossed.
Well, got him crossed. Well, I hope mine's okay at this point, still looking good. My lights are about to go off, but I should be powered up for the duration of our show. It's crazy. Anyway, really happy to see you all again. Thank you so much. But before we get into part 3 of the 4th tablet, the Emerald tablet, we're going to quickly just chat about just a bit about well, firstly, today was day 7 of the 72. So that was the last day of 72. And then tomorrow we take a break day and then begin the 108 on a Wednesday. But I am starting my 108 tomorrow because I'm traveling on Wednesday. So I'll take my break on Wednesday. But I want to just firstly just really say thank you to all the yogis and yoginis who have joined this incredible challenge. Really, I'm loving watching the comments. I'm loving how it's shifting people. I'm loving what people are becoming conscious of. And I have to tell you, and I'm going to mention you by name, Chantelle, and I hope that's the right pronunciation of your name. But she actually observed something very interesting the other day. And she noticed that she kept being interrupted at a certain, I think it was 46 or 48 or something. And then came to the conclusion that obviously that's her age now. So there was an interruption. And I went, wow, fabulous observation. So I started observing that. And I got to tell you this morning, it was the most, I always tell you guys, 72s always kick my ass, okay? They really do. And again, I mean, this past rotation has not been any different. In fact, it's probably kicked my ass more now than any other time before. But it was incredible to observe because what I did was, as I was getting through from about 36, I started noticing the ages I was and what was happening in my life at those ages. It was incredible. And then because I said this morning, okay, I'm not being interrupted. And the first time I was interrupted was around 1920. And then I went, ouch. And then it was incredible because what I did was then I'd go through, and as I was going through the sun salutation, I was going through that year in my mind. And then at the end, I would actually pause and I would process that pain. And I would, in that moment, transmute it and see the gift. It was incredible. And I did that with every age up until where I am now. And that has been probably one of the most powerful things that this challenge has brought me. So, I mean, it's an incredible challenge to do. I just know that from, I don't know how many rotations I've done now. And just not even, just really getting myself ready for the challenge has been an incredible experience. So it really does work. And on that note, I want to also talk about the fast because we've got the 3-day fast starting on the 15th of March, which is Wednesday. Now, that is in the middle or the beginning of the 108 sun salutation rotation. Now, I do not recommend that the yogis that are doing that do it on the 15th. Then I'm going to invite you to do it on the 21st, which is a week later. That's when I'll be starting the fast as well, because then I should be back from my travels as well. It's very difficult to fast when you're traveling. So then it's also new moon on that day, and it's the last day then of 108. So then if you're feeling up to it, we can then start on the same day that the 108 ends, do a 3-day fast.
Yes.
So, guys, Bryce has got all the information on that. And those of you who want to join that fast, please link in as well to my Pinterest, not Pinterest.
Signal.
Signal, that one, yes. Morné can just post the link there.
It's
so
in the description below.
Yes, okay, awesome. It's in the description below, just to join the Signal group, as well as Bryce's, but I've also got one where I just kind of link with that. So if you guys want to join my Signal group, it is there as well. So anyway, enough babbling from me. It's been a great week. I'm very happy to see you, Brycey. Looking forward to today.
Yeah, and with the fast coming up too, guys, if you got the template from me, you will see that I've given a lot of different options. I've even given options for those who are not fasting at all. So yes, you have the template in your 60-day challenge. So just take that information, shift it to the 21st if you were doing this. And I even say in the template, like, if you are fasting, do not do heavy exercise, because we want to preserve your energy. And I did take so you can even if you're deciding to put the fast off until the 21st, I put a lot of Shanti's writing about the big hunger, or the great hunger, and the little hunger. And so you can still start to work with that concept to prepare your mind and your energy for the fast to come. And even for the people, like, if you do have a history of disordered eating, then maybe fasting for you right now isn't healthy for you. You can still use that idea of, like, okay, if I have the propensity to starve myself, you can still take the great hunger and little hunger, because we know people who have the propensity to do that, it's a control issue. It's about, like,
but also, I just want to say, if you are in a position where health-wise you don't think fasting is good for you, you can fast in other ways. You can fast 3 days from social media. You can fast from coffee. You can fast from the 3 enemies of the body: gluten, sugar, dairy. So you can go vegan. You can go raw. For that time, you can cut out. As I said, social media, technology, that's a beautiful one to fast from, by the way. So if you need to eat your food and, your health is of that nature right now, absolutely, then use that concept and apply it to other areas. You might want to go celibate for 3 days.
Yep.
You might want to, whatever it is that you feel a habit, an addiction, stop smoking for 3 days. Ooh. See what happens there. Stop drinking for 3 days. So there are many things that we can stop shouting, stop swearing. It could be anything that you feel a habit you would like to let go of. And then really just to watch your behavior at that time, give yourself stuff, do the journaling, follow the rest of the protocol. Not that it's a protocol, but the guidelines rather for that time, the getting up, the journaling, the taking the self-care time, and then applying that, being conscious, maybe during that time, do yoga every day if you haven't done it every day, maybe then do 36, 72, 108 sun salutations, you can do anything you want. Really, this is what I say. I love life. I love this earth. I love the gifts that God has given us, because we really can do anything we want. This is the gift that God gave me when I came down, is that it does not have to be one way and one way alone. And that is in my DNA. It's in my energy. So you take what works for you, as long as, in my opinion, it's something that is positive, creative, not destructive. If you need to end a relationship, obviously, that people are going to get hurt, but you do that because you realize that your heart is not there. And if it's not right for you, it can't be right for the other person. So you do it in the best possible way, in a dignified, graceful manner. Any tough decisions require grace. So maybe that's what it would be for you, just to find your grace, find your, because that's really what the greater hunger is about. It's finding that meaning, that purpose in your life. So stuff like that. You can do whatever the heck you like. You know, I think food is a good one because most of us are addicted to all sorts of things that these fasts really kind of put up in sparkly highlights for us.
Well, and I will say too, because I agree with you that if you take away the stimulation of food, it gives you. So for people, though, I did put a link for those who've never heard of a Kitchery cleanse. If for some reason your health or your mind cannot go completely without food right now, you can do a Kitchery cleanse instead, which takes away a lot of the entertaining foods, the fun foods, we'll say. When I was a kid, I used to say that.
Boring.
I would ask,
so boring.
You're still getting the calories, so you can still do your exercises. But when I was a kid, I used to always ask my parents, "Are we having like real food or fun food? Like, like for dinner, are we gonna have real food or like fun food for dinner? And so that's the one thing. My mom went when I was really little. My mom went back to a continuing education class, and my dad. I remember for some reason, I remember it was on Tuesday nights. My dad would be in charge of our dinner. And when Dad was in charge of the dinner, it was fun dinner. It was like fast food, and it wasn't.
Yeah, there's nothing fun about that kitchen.
I know. So that is an option if you've never heard of the Kitchery cleanse. If you want to try a fasting program, but still if you still need the calories, if you are struggling with some, you can do the Kitchery cleanse, which takes away all the fun food and gives you a very boring. But you have your calorie intake. So that's an option as well. It's all in the template, guys. It is within your power to do that's how I've set this up. You have so many options because it's within your power to pick what is going to work for you at this time. I know for tomorrow, because these first 2 days on the template, Monday and Tuesday, we're gearing you up and having you think about it. And tomorrow I pull something Shanti wrote, and I want you to journal, like, what is your intention? And really be honest with yourself about why you would go on a Kitchery cleanse or why you would do a fast. And that's really for you to really be honest with yourself, because I know there's a lot of people in my life who have struggled, have a very warped relationship with food. I think a lot of us have a very warped relationship with food, just culturally, so it's really to get you, even if you're not even doing the fast ever, just to get you starting to think about your relationship with food and where that's coming from, whether you learned it from your childhood. If you have a parent that struggled with an eating disorder, I know that's very common for the children to then as adults have weird relationships with food because of that. So yeah.
It's like, my mom was a product of the war. So we had to eat all the food on our plate, but we learned you don't take more than what you think you can eat. Come back for seconds. So you don't pile your plate. You give yourself bite-sized chunks. And if you want more, there's lots more. Look, there's lots of food on the table. We were brought up like that. So that I thank God for, because there was never that scarcity, for example, awareness. Okay. But then also, it's very good to notice. We joke about being fangry or fungry, like really getting angry when we're hungry. And that is so real, because I'm like that. Okay. And because I grew up never starving. Right? Never did I ever starve. My father would always say, eat, my child, there's lots of food. And there was always lots of food. So my consciousness, there was lots of food. And I always have created lots of food. There's lots of food in my cupboard. Do you know what I'm saying? But I know that that's not the issue. But when I, for example, would start fasting, oh boy, you take my food away, and then you start seeing how grumpy I can be. And then don't anyone come near me for that first day, in the beginning especially. And that's when you really start identifying what's below the surface. Because what did that mean to me? What does it mean when we become angry, when we're hungry, right? What are we fearing? Because anger is a fear. So I then had to look. And then I also remembered I used to be a closet eater. I used to have quite a weight problem. There was a time where I was like quite chubby, and I would crave biscuits, and I'd like eat half a packet in one sitting. and I'd feel so disgusting. And then I wouldn't eat again after that. But it would be, I was never purging or anything like that. But for me, then I came to realize, well, my parents always rewarded us with sweets.
Yeah.
So if we had all our lunch, we got us like some form of candy, right? So then that became my understanding. That's my reward system. And take away my reward system, and now what do I have? You see what I'm saying? So that for me was an extremely interesting journey of understanding why I became angry. It was my fear, because what if I didn't have my reward? What if I didn't have food? What if I didn't have my dessert and I've got a sweet tooth? What if I did, which obviously translates into life. What if I don't get my reward? What if I don't get my reward? And then, of course, with that unconscious process, you repel everything that surrounds a reward, right? Because you go seeking the reward instead of the reward is already here, the alchemist. So that for me was a very interesting process. And I want to invite people who are doing, and also the yoga challenge. There's a lot of stuff coming up and it's beautiful. These are the questions you ask yourself, and especially on the fast, because especially if you're used to, let's say some people are fasting and stopping smoking and social media. There are those. Oh yeah. I've done that.
You're going to see a real pretty side of you come out if you stop that all at one go.
Yeah. But you know what? It's amazing when your mind actually accepts that. Your mind accepts that you're doing this and it's for a good purpose. You're delving deeper. You see, immediately we think we're depriving ourselves, and that's the little hunger, right? But then when you bypass that little hunger, you look at the greater hunger and say, right, what is that little hunger obstructing? What is the great hunger in me? What is the meaning, my purpose? Where do I want to be? And that's when you get drawn into that meditation. And that's when you get drawn into that feeding of the great hunger. And then suddenly you will have, it could be 3 seconds of clarity and insight. You'll come out of there feeling full. You're not even thinking about food. Your whole spirit is celebrating. You've just got one of the greatest hungers fulfilled. You had a spiritual connection with your higher being, with yourself, and it will take days to download. A 3-second connection will give you downloads for the next month. You wake up in the morning and suddenly, boom, there's something. You be in the shower and suddenly, boom, there's something. And these are the rewards, and these are the rewards that make you create your own beautiful life, that inspire you, that get you connected to the right people who vibe on your same wavelength, that get you to do co-creative projects, that get you to do that, where you can heal your health, where you can suddenly realize, well, there's the right doctor or there's the right healer, and that can support you through the journey. All sorts of things, whatever it is you need, there's an answer for. But you've got to look beyond, because we will often numb ourselves down, especially if you eat junk food, processed foods, the sweets, all of these things. If that's part of your daily diet, yes, you're going to have a detox, especially on day one. Probably going to have a headache. Try not to take a pill. Drink lots of water. But if you really need to take a headache tablet, it's really no big deal. I just like to breathe myself through it. But I have been doing it for a while, so I kind of know what to expect. But there are the first timers. You might be nauseous. You might throw up. Good. You're detoxing. Drink water. Instead of saying, oh, this is killing me, go, oh, awesome, I'm releasing. What am I purging? What am I releasing? Grab your journal. Right. This is a time where you are literally doing your own little
investigations.
Yeah, exactly. And it's beautiful. You come out of there feeling amazing. And the next time we're doing 5 days, guys, that's a cool one.
Wow. That one is rough.
And I'll say too, like my relationship, this is why I'm glad we're talking about this briefly because everybody's relationship with food is going to be different. For me, I always, because growing up, from the time I was born, I've had a lot of allergic reactions to foods that have put me in hospitals. And so I incorporate food with abuse. Honestly, I'm going to be very, I'm not a foodie. I have to, so for me, if I would rather not eat. And so I would be better on a Kitchery cleanse. And I will give you guys, like when I was in kindergarten, my mother told me this story a while ago. She said it broke her heart. I came home one day and begged my mom just to put crackers in my lunchbox because the teacher was making us eat all of our lunches and I would end up getting sick. And when I was in the second grade, so 8 years old, I ended up at Eggleston Children's Hospital because in the middle of the night, I would wake up and projectile vomit all night. And no one could figure out what was going on. What was going on was that I was eating a lot of foods that my system could not handle. And so my relationship with food is one of when someone tries to dominate me, like I don't want anybody cooking for me. And with my boyfriend, that was a very hard lesson for him to learn because he thought he's a chef. He thought he was doing something great for me. And it would really upset me, like really trigger me when he would cook a meal because then I felt obligated to eat it. And then I knew, because I could smell with the ingredients, I knew that I was going to be throwing up later. And so for me, my relationship with food does come down to like dominance and control and me trying to have my own sovereignty. And I would always explain to people like, listen, I'm 40 years old. I know what foods work for me. So it's interesting how food triggers different emotions with different people because it is a source of our nutrients. We have to eat in order to live, and food is energy. We are energy. And so so for me as a child, it was very tough. And my mother was really, even though my parents really didn't know like how to feed me, my mom was the one that was the best about it because she kind of at one point just like let me do things for myself. Like at dinner time, she kind of let me do my own stuff because she knew for me it was so emotional to have to, and I would be so jealous of people that could just eat and have like a solid stomach because I would be in the bathroom all night throwing up. And so, so it's just very interesting to see like how food brings out different emotions in people. And so, yeah, I know a lot of people that use food as a reward. My mother was one, because my mother was always like on Weight Watchers and different diet programs. And so she would have cheat days. So I would see her do that, and so it's interesting to see how our relationship with food changes and how we all have different perspectives of how that nutrients triggers us or just, I know a lot of people, especially down here in the South, we have what's called soul food, SOUL food, which is deep Southern cooking, like fried okra, fried chicken.
Right.
Yeah, it's big mashed potatoes, pineapple casseroles, and so we incorporate in the South, and a lot of cultures do that. You incorporate love. And because it's not the food that's bringing you that love, it's the table with the people around it. It's your family and your friends that are in that meal with you, that the memory, that's where the love comes from. It's not necessarily the food. The food is just a part, even though the person who made the food, usually your grandma who made the food, put love into making that food. It's the experience of being with people you love. And so it's interesting when you take away that stimulant to see what really is coming up for you. So I'm excited to see how people's experiences coming through this, especially if you've never done a fast before. So
yeah, well, really looking forward to have you guys on board for that as well. So as I said there, my Signal link is in the comment section, as well as the description where Morné has kindly left it. So if you guys want to join, please feel free to do so. Okie dokie. We are now on to Emerald Tablet number 4, part 3.
We could have finished this last week, but I got zapped. So maybe God is like, just wait, I want you to hold on. So I'm going to go ahead. So this is remember guys, tablet 4 is the Spaceborn. So it's Thoth going through like understanding his experience in himself and his perception of human consciousness, like how we got in this situation, which honestly, I've got a series on my channel about organic portals. And I have a video releasing today where it talks about the Cassiopeian's perspective, which really matches what Thoth is saying about how humans came to be. When we're talking in the perception of with organic portals, which is a totally different subject, about how we in our infinite wisdom kind of created these universes and this friction to grow and to learn, right? We did this to ourselves for a higher purpose. And so we got kind of towards the end, and we were talking a lot, and I kind of want to start here. We were talking a lot about, in Doriel's commentary, he talks about the prayer is really a command, and is for the purpose of establishing a harmony or connection between the soul or consciousness and the cosmic consciousness. And I wrote, when a prayer becomes a vow. That's a line from, as you guys know, when I was doing the child strike of 1899, I studied the script from Newsies based on that. And so a lot of the lines I've memorized now. And I thought, that's a line from Newsies. When a prayer becomes a vow. Be careful what you are praying for. Be careful what you are asking for. Ask and you shall receive, right? And so that's what they're saying. A prayer is really a command. And it's for the purpose of establishing a harmony or connection between the soul or consciousness and the cosmic consciousness. When a man has fully freed his soul from bondage to the material, then he is no longer subject to disorder or negativity and can seek wisdom at the source of wisdom. Which, interesting, kind of sounds like the great hunger and the little hunger, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
When a man can kind of ignore the bondage, now that we're talking about fasting, yes, we need food, but if we can understand to put food in its place, then we are free of that bondage.
Then there's no bondage, yeah. Food is a necessity for us to live, but it's how our thought process or our mind and our conditioning around food, especially when we see how many eating disorders there are in the world. We see so many obese people, and really, are they overfed or are they starving? If we look at skinny people as well, are they really starving, or do they just, my friend who's a very, very, very well-known and very fantastic skydiver, he hardly eats. He just says, we humans, we eat too much. He says, I live on consciousness. And he does. And he's a tall, slender guy. And he's healthy. His body is my age, is healthy, strong, But it's amazing, your thoughts. So he will have food when he knows his body needs it. Another person, again, can't go without eating meat 3 times a day. So it really is about our understanding on what food is. Are we using it to sustain ourselves in the way that we need to and getting the correct balance? Or are we using it to cover up our emotions, our fears, our whatever it is that we usually use a drug for, because it becomes a drug. It becomes a drug for people.
Well, so, you're saying that, I was thinking about the vagus nerve, and there was a study that came out with the vagus nerve that if you meet a group of people who've gone through like a lot of trauma and are stuck in like in a warp of like anxiety disorder, most of the time those people will be habitual smokers. Why is that? Because the cigarette calms the inhalation will calm the vagus nerve down. So if you take away the stimulant of the cigarette and you're just left with an overactive vagus nerve, then you can start to really work on the energetic properties around, because that's what the body is trying to do. The body is trying to calm it down anyway, but the mind is taking on something to mask the pain. So you can calm, like the cigarette, it's a distraction to calm the nerve down, but also not have to go back into unraveling the bondage of trauma. So it's food, it's cigarettes, it's drugs, it's sex, it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby. That's what it is. This is basically what LA is built off of, right? But if you can put those in their place, then you can enjoy certain things, activities, without making them a part of your life. They're just for your. I love a good rock concert, right? Who doesn't? I spent many a nights up and down Sunset Strip going to the different clubs listening. I had a grand old time. But if you know who you are and yourself, then you can kind of remove the stimulants to then work through yourself. And that's all he's saying. And it kind of reminds me, and I say this all the time, in the Yoga Sutras, in Sri Swami Satchitananda's commentary over the Yoga Sutras, he says this, like, once you realize, you really viscerally know that your soul is eternal, you can really start to enjoy life. Like, once you understand that your body is temporary and is meant for you to learn from, then you can actually really, like your friend was saying, just live off of the life and the consciousness, because you're not a slave to these stimulants. And how
totally.
like how effing interesting is that? Like Source and God's infinite wisdom said, you know what? You need to eat because that's what keeps you alive. You need to have sex because that's what creates babies. You need all these things, but yet if you're not careful, they're going to entrap you. And that's
moderation, balance.
So isn't that cool that God did that? Like, you're going to need this. Like I always say, like with addiction, people who are addicted to food, I'm like, wow, you really pick some hard karma, because if you're addicted to like heroin, you can live without it, right? But food, you have to, it's an even harder path to go down, because now you're going to have to figure out how to have this in your life without it becoming your life, or without it being your remedy to your problems, right? I was listening to
the beauty about that is, and I want to just say that as well, because when we're looking at, let's say, and we talk about food a lot, I know today, especially because it really has, when I look at people, when I say eating disorders, I'm not talking necessarily about someone with extreme eating disorders. I'm talking about someone who has a daily habit. They can't break those patterns. They are stuck in certain things and use food as their medicine in many, many ways. When people decide, like, let's say you make a decision to fast for 3 days to understand your relationship with food. That's where it begins and that's where it ends. Or sex, or whatever it is that you're fasting from, right? So the minute you do that, it's like your spirit takes over. And it's like you start seeing, if you're over consuming sweets, what that sweetness is bringing you and where you've lacked that. So then instead of eating an enormous amount of sweets to try and overcompensate for the lack of sweetness in life, you then start doing things that bring you more sweetness in life. Exercising, maybe, contacting friends, seeing family, playing with pets, I don't know, joining a gym or a dance studio or whatever it is. And then what happens is your energy starts filling with that sweetness. So soon what starts happening, you start craving sweets less and less. You start feeling more like, ooh, I feel like an apple. Ooh, I could really do with crispy beans right now. Gosh, I don't know where I'm getting that craving from, you know. You start naturally craving the more healthier options. So yes, although you do need to put things into place, but it starts with a decision. And it's like your spirit guides you. So this is what I want to say to people as well when you start this journey. So many people think it's such a huge thing that they've got to take on and they've got to change it. No. Begin with what you have. Yes, if your cupboard is full of sweets and stuff, throw them out. Replace them with something healthier. Absolutely. So start with the things that are doable. And then you just take those tiny steps from there. You'll be guided every day, every moment you're guided. But don't let it be overwhelming. A lot of people are overwhelmed when they start on these journeys because they think it's so massive. No, you don't have to get rid of your leathers or your whatever it is that you love. I don't know. That you think you have to, or suddenly be poor. And, you know, being spiritual is synonymously often connected to poverty consciousness, right? So, well, if I'm all spiritual, I've got to let my money go. No, not at all. You just learn to have a different relationship with money and you learn how to spend your money differently. And if you continue to love spending it that way, that's good. But like every child, you're going to get tired of the old toys. You're going to want new toys. You're going to want different things at some point. So eventually that craving for 10 and 20 houses and 30 boats kind of like dissolves and one is enough. Why would you need that many? You get to those points. It's a point of realization. And then that other stuff just has a way of dissolving. Doesn't mean you don't have to practice discipline. It starts with practicing discipline to see where your mind has gone or your habits have led you astray. And then it's a decision to bring yourself back into alignment and bring it all together again let go what you need to, bring in what you need to, and then start a new journey. And then let God guide you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, and that actually ends Doriel's commentary, but we have a few more verses left. So, Thoth says, traveled I through space-time, knowing my soul was set free, knowing that I now might pursue wisdom, until at last I passed to a plane, hidden from knowledge, known not to wisdom, extension beyond all that we know. Now, O man, when I had this knowing, happy my soul grew, for now I was free. Listen, ye spaceborn, list to my wisdom. Know ye not that you too will be free? And it's interesting, he says the space-time. I know the Cassiopeans in the Law of One also refer to this as well. And I think that we on Earth are in what they call time-space, but in higher consciousness, they're in space-time. And when we get deeper into the Sophia Code on what we do on solutions, that Hathor talks about that as where our perception of time will start to shift and change as well. We won't see things so linearly, which for me as a human being, that's very hard because our brain is programmed to see things with a beginning, a middle, and end. But consciousness does not work that way. Consciousness does not work in time space, it works in space time. And isn't that interesting? That's what I say, you know, opposing, that's the whole point of yoga too, is opposing forces, because that's what it creates friction, is opposing forces, yeah? And so we see that in the physical body, but we also see it manifested as a template for our own existence. We have a brain that's working in time space, but our consciousness is in space time, right? And then we have a body that's mortal, but our soul and consciousness connected to space-time is immortal. So how opposing forces is that to create the friction of wisdom that then sets us free? And that's what he says at the end of this verse. Know ye not that ye too will be free? List ye again, O man, to my wisdom, and here ye too might live and be free. Not of the earth are ye earthy, but a child of the infinite cosmic light. So even though you're earthbound and you're earthy, you're not of the earth because your consciousness is a child of the infinite cosmic light.
It's like it really just, for me, that says it really just goes back to the understanding life is spiritual. Mm-hmm. So when we're living in space-time, time-space, space-time, time-space. And as you say, that's the friction. So in the time zone, so to speak, we have the more physical experience, right? So let's say the body would be more time space because it's more physical in this linear time that we kind of really living according to. But when as our consciousness uplifts, expands, as our consciousness expands, we are then able to understand that the body is a manifestation of spirit. It is the spirit in physical form. So whatever we're learning here is lessons that the spirit needs to learn in order to expand, which is why the space would infiltrate into the time and understand that it's just this too shall pass. It's a moment in time we're experiencing a physical incarnation or several incarnations.
Yeah,
until we've understood the body, Christ consciousness, God's consciousness through this physical, dense body. It's such a beautiful experiment we are doing with ourselves, being in our bodies and learning how to navigate this meat suit. No wonder we've dreamed up spaceships and things, because at the end of the day, that's really what we'd love to be doing, flying. But we've had to ground, we've had to connect, we've had to experience life flat on the earth with flat feet and not having our wings to fly anymore. We've had to enjoy a grounding experience, an experience on earth, beauty, connection, nature, falling flat like rocks, feeling like a clunky Lego set sometimes when I get onto my yoga mat and my arm just about breaks off because I'm so clunky that morning. But soon afterwards, you start, you know what I'm saying? We've had to come here for this experience, and it's a beautiful thing. And we've chosen it because we can, because we're at that space in time and time in space where we can realize that. It's awesome, actually.
Yes. So you're telling that because according to the law of one, we right now are in third density, and it's a heavy density to be in. Fourth density, when it splits, fourth density positive, people know the humanoids, the body knows how to like levitate, right? Things like that. And I was saying to someone I know who's very well versed in the law of one, I was like, well, some of our souls came down from fourth or fifth density. How come we're not just able to levitate? And he goes, well, what's the fun in that? The part of the fun is forgetting that we know how to do these things. That's part of the fun. And then rediscovering it through our own friction. I was like, that's an interest. Like, what's the fun in that? Like, what's the fun in and like, and it's like what Thoth is saying is like, you created, you are already free because you are the one who created the bondage. You put the big bondage coat on you. So you're the one that can take it off, and you did it intent. You have infinite wisdom. Your soul already has the wisdom in it to do this to yourself so that you would remember. So you would remember, the soul would remember itself. Like, this is the soul refining itself. And like, literally, I'm just going to take that. What's the fun in that? Like, if we came to Earth in these human avatars and knew all of this, we already knew it, but if we like had it right in front of us, there would be no fun in discovering it again. And so he goes on to say, know ye not, O man of your heritage, know ye not that ye are truly of the light, son of the great sun, when ye gain wisdom, truly aware of your kinship with the light. Now to ye I give knowledge, freedom to walk in the path I have trod, showing you truly how my striving I trod the path that leads to the stars. Hark ye, O man, and know of thy bondage. Know how to free thyself from the toils. Out of the darkness shall ye rise upward, one with the light and one with the stars. Follow ye ever the path of wisdom. Only by this can ye rise from below, for every man's destiny leaves him onward into the curves of infinity's all. Know ye, a man, that all space is ordered. Only by order are ye one with the all. Order and balance are laws of the cosmos. Follow, and ye shall be one with the all. So what are these laws of the cosmos? Well,
Beautiful.
Attraction, like attracts light, vibration. We've gone through this. We're going to go deeper into the 7 lords in the future, the chakra system. So is law, and I remember when I studied the Navajo a long time ago for the Skinwalker episode I did. I loved their teaching of white magic and black magic. Very simple. Black magic is when you work against nature for your own self. Look at what the controllers are doing. They're always working against nature. But white magic is working with nature. You lean into nature. You don't try to stop nature from coming. It's like one of my favorite, I know Emmy and I have talked about this, like Ram Dass, one of my favorite teachers who has now passed away, but he had a whole teaching on leaning into death. When death should be celebrated just as much as birth is, and having people meditating around you at the time of your passing and allowing that to be a peaceful experience, that it's leaning into the nature of things. And I saw that's great because he's saying that's what he's saying. If you're of the light, you're going to lean into the laws because that's all it is vibratory laws. He who would follow the pathway of wisdom, open must be to the flower of life, which is in your solar plexus, extending his consciousness out of the darkness, flowing through time and space in the all. Deep in the silence, first ye must linger, until at last you are free from desire. Ding, ding, ding. Maybe that's why God popped me off last week, so we could talk about fasting and this, because this is the lesson, right, that we're talking about. Free from the longing
desire, absolutely,
and free from the longing to speak in the silence. So being able to just be with the silence, conquered by silence, the bondage of words, abstaining from eating until we have conquered desire for food. What is bondage? Literally, guys, that's it. I mean, how cool is God? That's literally in the Emerald Tablets. So about fasting, right? Fasting.
Awesome.
This was totally last week to my asshole construction workers. The devil so bad. God was like, all right, construction workers are breaking some laws, but I'm going to use this to my advantage because we need to talk about this section of the Emerald Tablets. Literally, I forgot that was literally right here. If you guys can see it right there, he talks about fasting. So literally, that's what he said. Then lie ye down in darkness, close ye your eyes from the rays of the light, center thy soul force in the place of thy consciousness, so going inward, shaking it free from the bonds of the night, Place in thy mind place the image thou desireth. Picture the place thou desireth to see. Vibrate back and forth with thy power. Loosen the soul from out of its night. Fiercely must thou shake it with all thy power until at last thy soul be free. So he's saying, go inward. Only you can do this. Only you. So if you're still someone that thinks like, oh, well, when the white hats do this or when this happens, no. You have to do this. Only, and that's why it's so spiritual practice. Like right now, yeah, our world is hectic right now. It's chaos. But can you find peace in that? I can. Can you enjoy your life even when the outside world, because that's how the outside world then changes. It's the laws of the cosmos, as he just said, like attracts like. And so the only reason why these nefarious players are able to continue playing is because our vibration is allowing it.
Because we're playing along.
Because we're playing along. And so if we go inside of ourselves, into our own body, and force and focus, as Shanti was saying, that intention, that great hunger, take away the stimulants, shake that soul loose from the bondage. That's your power. And then maybe you'll start levitating. Wouldn't that be just gnarly? And people just started, I don't know how the controllers would try to spin that. Like sometimes I think how comical it would be if things really start shifting. Like, then I'd probably start watching the news again just to see how they were going to spin it. Just to see like what they were going to say. All right, so he goes, mighty beyond the words is the flame of the cosmic, hanging in planes unknown to man, mighty and balanced, moving in order, music of harmonies far beyond man, speaking with music, singing with color, flame from the beginning of eternity's all, spark of the flame art thou, O my children, burning with color, in living with music, list to the voice, and thou shalt be free. Spark, I'm going to read that again. Spark of the flame art thou, O my children. You are part of that flame. You are not serving the God you serve is a part of you. Like you're a part of that. You are not separate. You are not separate from source. You are a fractal of source. And that is, and he's saying, how powerful is that? How beautiful are you? Burning with color and living with music. You are the most beautiful being ever created because you are a part of source. That's what he's saying here. Consciousness free is fused with the cosmic, one with the order and law of the all. Know ye not, man, that out of the darkness light shall flame forth, a symbol for all. Pray ye of this attaining of wisdom. Pray for the coming of light to all. Mighty spirit of light that shines through the cosmos, draw my flame closer in harmony to thee. Lift up my fire from out of the darkness. Magnet of that fire is the one with the all. Lift up my soul, thou mighty and potent. Your soul is mighty and potent. Child of the light, turn not away. Keep going, keep going. Draw me in the power and melt in thy furnace, one with all things and all things in one. Fire of the life strain and one with the brain. When you have freed thy soul from its bondage, know that for ye darkness is gone. Ever though space ye may seek wisdom, bound not by feathers forged in the flesh. Onward and upward into the morning, free flash, O soul, to the realms of light. Move thou in order, move thou in harmony. Freely shalt move with the children of light. Seek ye and know ye my key of wisdom. Thus, O man, shall ye surely be free. Basically, to sum up Tablet 4, in the Cliff Notes version, it's all you, boo. It is all you.
Yeah,
you hold
completely.
power.
I need to share
Shock
something.
and horror. Shock and horror.
No, it can't be. No, it's not all me. Like, seriously, it's not all me.
Someone needs to come rescue me.
Anyways, I need to share. And somebody commented here, I think Michelle, and it's one of my favorite Bible verses. It's like, God created me in your womb. God created me in my mother's womb and knew everything about me. I can't remember the thing, but it's basically God knew you were in your womb and you knew fully who you were going to become. And that goes together with something I also truly believe: God's will be done. There's no other will than God's will. So
Yeah.
if you start looking at the space-time thingy, so every possible decision that you can make or will make is happening right now. You choose in what space you want to live and what choices you want to be. And the amazing thing that for me, once I started doing the inner work, going into that dark places inside of me, there was one memory where I was a child that defined my life so completely. And at that moment, I didn't remember then, but I remember when I started doing the work, I was looking at an angel, and an angel was telling me, hey, you've got this, and everything like that. So fast forward in the future, I started doing the spirit work. I went back to my child, and then realized I was the angel standing there, giving myself comfort. So that's how amazing we are, that time is not linear. It's
Time
like
is
it's
not
everything
linear.
happening at the same
Yes.
time.
And
God
that is
anywhere.
so everything you're experiencing now. So your life is happening all in the now, and that is wild. Even when we talk about the Hathor, she's going to talk all of your past lives and your future. They're not past lives. They're not future lives. They're simultaneous lives. They're all happen. That's how big your consciousness is that it's able to live all these existence like at the same time. And as humans in this avatar, we're like, what? Like we can't even, yeah. So you are your own hero. That's it. You're the freaking white hats, guys. Like I've said this every day for almost a year now. I'm like, who are the white hats? You. That's you. Plot twist. You're the storm. You're the knight in shining armor. That's it. That's it. Like that you're it. That's how powerful you are. When Mr. T said the storm is upon us, he wasn't talking about some group of people that were going to come in and just save you for shits and giggles. He was talking about you, that you were going to save yourself, that you were going to go through a process of waking up and of realizing. And it's like that great meme, like where you have like the 1%, the controllers playing chess, and the table is a bunch of people hunched over, and so the table is their back. And then all of a sudden, when the people realize it, they stand up, and the chessboard falls off. That's you standing up. God, what does it say in the Bible too? God breathed life into man, and man stood up. That is you.
Yeah,
and it doesn't
absolutely.
It doesn't mean you have to go out there and you have to like be like an slashing around on a horse. Like you don't have to be some character. All that means is that you take your power back in your life.
Yeah.
Turn the TV off. Find peace, find joy in the littlest of things, like going out with your dog or playing with your kids. Don't let them steal your joy, because that is your soul. And when you start to work on yourself and go inside yourself, that's when they lose their power. If you're waiting to come save you, you've given your power away. It's
like Chantelle said, it's once you make that choice, once you make that decision, then you go for it. And then with the fasting, especially with the fasting, to have the right purpose, the right intention that's strong enough. Don't do it just because the group is doing it. That's not a strong enough decision. You're probably not going to last. So if you choose, you want to do it for yourself, to better yourself, and you choose the right purpose, maybe it's addiction for this, or maybe it's that. When your intentions are strong and your purpose is strong, and you start doing this, then definitely, then everything starts to shift. You lose grip. And somebody talked about magic, and this is where it doesn't become magic anymore, because God is beyond magic.
Law of the cosmos.
You don't need a crystal. Yes, crystals is nice. You can do your ceremonies, but when you start doing this kind of work, it's not white magic. It's not black magic. It's not great magic. It is. I don't even know what word to use, but it's God moving through us again. It's source, aligning ourselves again to the source, to God. So then we don't need crystals or wands or potions or
source
rituals.
Magic. Yeah. Source.
Yeah,
it's your divine right. Miracles are your birthright. That's what I'm saying. Miracles are your birthright. So when you rely on these miracles, I think start happening. And whether it's your grandma calling you that hasn't called for a year, or any small thing, the plumber that arrived after 3 months of trying to get them, it could be a miracle. That could be your miracle. But things start moving into some form of beautiful direction in a more structured and guided space where it flows. It's not all over the place or sporadic occasionally. It's a flowing experience for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will say while you guys were talking about that, I did a little recording this morning for next week for the Hathor materials. And I read a line they said in that Hathor material that was so powerful. They said, do not take away somebody else's right to suffer. And I loved that because through our own suffering is how we realize, that's what he's saying, going into the darkness and then realizing, oh, I got to go back up to the light. You know, we have to and I think the more work you do on yourself, the more you allow other people the space to do what they need to do as well, because you start realizing there's a bigger picture going on here. There's a bigger, and we're all in this together, but we're also doing this on our own as well. Like we're all connected. You know, we're all one soul that's split to no separateness, but we came here to no separateness so that we would know we were of the whole. That's the friction. That's the polarity. That's the opposing forces. And so you are the miracle. Absolutely. And don't interrupt anybody else's self-discovery of knowing that they are also a miracle. And sometimes they have to go down their own path. And that's why on the shadow work template, I give you so many options. And I love that you said that, Morné. Do not fast because you think by fasting you can join the group and be accepted as a friend. We'll accept you regardless of whether you fast or not. It's up to you. This is just stuff. You're at home by yourself. Like nobody's there monitoring you. I don't care if you find your enlightenment through eating Snickers bars all day, then, you know, that's where you are. That's where you are. So don't do this because you think it's going to give you validation outside of yourself. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful experience, but really, you know, even if you're not ready for it now, start letting this plant the seeds. You know, definitely. I'm certainly going to be continuing this stuff later on, and soon we're going to do a 10-day yoga challenge and a 10 or a 10 and a 5-day, and you know, we progress. We take a little bit further. It's like Vipassana. Those of you who've been to Vipassana, we start with 10-day silent retreat, and after that you start progressing into 20, sometimes 30, sometimes 40. I definitely haven't progressed there, but it's what I'm saying. It's up to you. I love the idea of challenging myself, but not breaking my own ass, just to enjoy the experience and back off when you need to, carry on when you need to, have a goal to walk towards. That's a lovely thing. Anyway, it looks like our time is up for today, beautiful little BRICE. So
I know. I'm just giggling. That was so. Last week, me getting bumped off was like a miracle because God knew, and our higher consciousness knew that we were coming in, and so how perfectly divine was that to do the end of the 4th tablet the week we start talking about fasting. Like how perfectly divine was that? So
we know we're on the right track, y'all, when we start having this is what's called alignment. Honestly, this is what's called alignment. This is called really just unspecified manifestation, being in the right place, knowing. And that's why when things like that happen, we shouldn't get upset. We shouldn't get mad. We got to say, okay, well, I've tried. I like to try 2 or 3 times. And if I don't get it right, then I'll say, okay, cool, I'm backing off here. Let it go, let it be, try another way, whatever. And then boom, as you said, then today we're talking about the fast that completely aligns with today's conversation. So perfectly aligned. High five, y'all 3.
Yes,
y'all 2
I know,
there.
right? I just think it's just, I'm like, I giggle when I see the serendipitous moments. I'm like, okay, I see you, God. I see you.
Exactly.
I see what you did.
I always call it God's way of staying anonymous.
I know, right? God's like, they think it's the construction workers. Meanwhile, I cut the line.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, thank you all so much for joining us on another fabulous connection with BRICE here, the Emerald Tablet. Are we finished now, BRICE? Is it finished?
Next week is tablet 5.
Part 4.
Okay.
Yeah, next tablet.
So we finished tablet 4. And then we're going, next week we'll be on with tablet 5. So take care of you all, everybody. Yeah, look forward to that. Perfect. We'll see you next week. God bless you all. Like, share, subscribe, share. See you soon. Cherry
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.